An original podcast from podlatino.com.
Capricorn isn't the sign that shouts its goals to the world. It's the one that wakes up early, makes a plan, and gets to work before most people have finished their morning coffee. There's a seriousness to this energy that can easily be mistaken for coldness or distance at first glance. But what drives Capricorn isn't indifference. It's something deeper and far more patient. The certainty that anything worth having takes time, effort, and structure. Capricorn is the 10th sign of the zodiac and belongs to the earth element, which keeps it grounded in the concrete, the tangible, and the real. This isn't a sign that's comfortable with ideas just floating around with nowhere to land. It needs results, evidence, things it can see and touch. But Capricorn is also a cardinal sign, which means it has its own initiative. It doesn't sit around waiting for things to happen. It starts, proposes, organizes, and moves forward. The combination of earth energy with that drive to initiate produces something that builds from the very first step and doesn't let go until the goal is reached. Its ruling planet is Saturn, and understanding that goes a long way toward understanding the Capricorn mindset. Saturn isn't the planet of luck or easy pleasure. It's the planet of time, discipline, limits, and responsibility. It represents what costs something, what requires consistency, and what gets learned through lived experience. When Saturn rules a sign, that sign carries an intense relationship with effort, with the consequences of choices, and with the need to build something that won't collapse the moment things get hard. It's no accident that Capricorn has such a strong capacity to endure long processes, to hold itself together under pressure, and to keep going when the road gets difficult. In work, this energy becomes especially visible. Capricorn has a very particular relationship with goals. It isn't chasing success purely for external validation, although that can show up too. What it really needs is to feel that its effort is building something real. Capricorn's ambition isn't impulsive or random. It's methodical, strategic, and oriented toward the long game. This sign can spend years working toward something without losing its direction, tolerating slow or frustrating phases because it understands that solid things aren't built overnight. It has a natural ability to lead, to organize, to set priorities, and to keep a clear head when others are losing theirs. But it can also become overly demanding, both with others and with itself. Self-imposed pressure is one of its most complex territories. Capricorn can set very high standards, operate in sustained effort mode for long stretches, and forget that rest isn't a sign of weakness. Rest is part of the process. That same structure that gives Capricorn so much weight in professional settings also shows up in its relationships. Capricorn doesn't usually enter a relationship lightly. When it decides to commit to someone, whether in love or in friendship, it does so with genuine seriousness. It doesn't promise what it can't deliver. It doesn't say what it doesn't mean. And when it's present, it's truly present. The way it takes care of people is very concrete. It helps solve problems, shows up during difficult moments, follows through on what it says, and holds steady when things get complicated. It may not be the kind of connection that floods you with beautiful words, but it's the one that appears when you need it most. In love, Capricorn can build something very deep and very lasting. But there's a challenge that tends to repeat itself. Difficulty showing what it feels. Not because the feelings aren't there, but because something in this energy learned early on to associate vulnerability with risk, with the danger of losing control or of coming up short. So what it feels tends to come out in actions rather than words, in showing up, in solving things, in protecting. That is Capricorn love. But it can also create distance with a partner who needs more, who needs to feel that the relationship has emotional warmth and not just reliability. Part of Capricorn's growth in love involves allowing itself to lower that guard, trusting that being vulnerable doesn't expose it to failure, but actually connects it more genuinely to another person. In friendship, Capricorn is the kind of person who doesn't have 50 friends, but truly takes care of the ones it has. It can seem reserved at first, even a little distant, but once trust is established, it becomes one of the most dependable connections you can have. It's there when it matters, gives advice that actually helps, doesn't dramatize, and offers a very particular kind of support. The kind that helps you see things clearly and walks with you toward real solutions. The challenge here is similar to the one in love. Capricorn sometimes moves to fix things before it's finished listening. And that's not always what someone needs in the moment. Sometimes people just need to be heard, without anyone trying to solve anything. Capricorn's communication style tends to be direct and efficient. It doesn't circle around things. It doesn't dress things up. It says what it thinks with precision and expects the same in return. That can be a huge strength in work settings or in situations that call for clarity. But in spaces where emotion needs more room, it can come across as cold or detached. That lack of emotional expressiveness usually isn't carelessness. It's a pattern that often develops over years of keeping feelings contained in order to keep functioning. Capricorn tends to learn early that you have to be strong, that you have to keep moving, that the world doesn't pause because you're exhausted or hurting. And while that lesson holds some truth, it can also become a kind of cage when applied without nuance. When Capricorn is under pressure, those shadow sides become more visible. It can grow rigid, hard to reach, overly controlling, or closed off to receiving help, because asking for help creates discomfort, a sense of being in debt, or of admitting it can't handle everything alone. It can fall into a kind of pessimism that isn't really realism anymore, but exhaustion wearing a disguise. It can become so focused on results that it loses sight of the joy in the journey, the relationships built along the way, the life that happened while it was busy working. In those phases, what Capricorn needs most is exactly what it finds hardest to allow: slowing down, releasing control, and letting other people be present. When it's in balance, though, Capricorn is a remarkably mature and generous energy. It's the kind of person who does what they say, who shows up when they commit, who builds things patiently and holds others up with a steadiness few can match. It has long-range vision, practical sense, sound judgment, and an extraordinary ability to turn what others can barely imagine into something concrete and real. In that state, Capricorn isn't a cold sign. It's a sign that protects through consistency, that cares through action, and that trusts that what is built well doesn't need to be rushed. The energy of Capricorn teaches that time isn't the enemy, but the ally of what is true. That structure doesn't limit, it supports. That responsibility, when practiced with awareness, is a form of respect toward yourself and toward others. But it also shows that no foundation is truly solid if the person building it never allows themselves to live inside what they've created. A life well built isn't just a list of goals achieved. It's also the rest that was earned, the relationships that were nurtured, the tenderness that wasn't hidden out of fear of appearing weak. Capricorn grows when it discovers that real strength isn't in carrying everything alone, but in knowing when to lean on someone, when to stop, and when to let what you feel become part of what you build.